welcome to ET Studios AI Horizons in association with ETCIO. Today we're casting a closer look at how AI is disrupting the banking sector, and to join me in doing just that is Tanish Mathur, who's a digital transformation expert. Thank you so much for your time today.
Shilpa, a very warm welcome to all your users. Thanks for inviting me to show. Pleasure is all mine.
An absolute pleasure for us as well. Now the MGI, that's the McKinsey Global Institute, estimates that almost $340 billion could be added annually of the total industry revenue in the banking sector by AI, and this is largely through increased productivity. What are the top use cases of AI in the BFSI sector that you are noticing currently?
Shilpa, if you see in the last 60 years, we have traversed a journey from C to C. When I say from C to C, it is basically from computation to cognition. In the late 1960s, when the computers were introduced, we were looking at computers to compute for their computational power, for their computational prowess. Now with the advent of AI and Gen AI, we are looking for computers to think. That means we are looking for their cognition abilities. So that's the journey which has taken from last 60 years from C to C cognition, computation to cognition. And now when you look at artificial intelligence and Gen AI, there are a lot of use cases which is looking into different multiple areas in the BFSI industry. When you look at emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence and Gen AI, BFSI as an industry is always in the forefront of tech innovations. The reason is obviously industry is always in pressure with respect to dipping margins, increasing cost, and we always have customers which are looking for a superlative experience. There are multiple use cases, but I would like to focus on specific areas. These areas are across the transactional value chain of a bank. Now, when we talk about specific areas, these are back office operations, the areas or use cases around risk, and also customer facing. Now, when you look at back office operations, there are specific areas around process optimization, there are areas around process discovery, there are areas around knowledge management. Now, if you see from a banking industry perspective, industry has achieved or attained a great level of success when we introduce RPA, robotic process automation. But robotic process automation are to a certain extent are attended automation. That means when human kickstart the activity with the bots, they will do the complete manual exercise, and that will free up the space. Now, when we combine artificial intelligence and generative and Gen AI on top of RPA, that gives us a lot of leeway. So if you see from a banking operations or banking process point of view, the complete transaction lifecycle is very structured, very standardized. It is from step 1 to step 10. So if a transaction has to complete, it has to traverse through all these steps in a sequential way. And we have positive flows, we have negative flows, we have exceptional flows. So that operational efficiency we have achieved by RPA, but now deploying AI and Gen AI on top of it, there are a lot of initiatives which have introduced or which have reduced the exceptional flow handling. So that means there is a creative element of it where there is any breakage in the flow, Gen AI kicks in, and due to the training model or due to the learning capacity of the model, it comes back to the positive course. So that is one of the areas where we're looking at operational efficiency and cost effectiveness. And it on the same lines, it goes with the process optimization, process discovery, and knowledge management.
Now, when you're talking about this exceptional flow management, is AI able to detect these unusual patterns easier than a human eye or a professional can?
Yeah. So there are a lot of algorithms which has been deployed, and when we talk about artificial intelligence, and this is also I would like to clarify the difference between AI and Gen AI. So when we look from an artificial intelligence capability point of view, we have large amount of data sets, okay, and if there is an anomaly or an exceptional, the artificial intelligence capabilities identify the pattern, okay, and based on the pattern recognition, these exceptional transactions have been filtered out, and now they have been prone to additional security, additional scrutiny. Now, when you look at Gen AI capabilities, they not only recognize the pattern, but they also create the pattern. So that's the fundamental difference between AI and Gen AI. It's more on the capabilities and functionalities which both these AI and Gen AI provides. So as you're asking about the scrutinization or anomalies, this is the way how these new age technologies are helping the banking operations.
Well, it's interesting to note the various positive changes that AI is effecting, especially by increasing operational efficiency. But on the con side, what are the sort of challenges and roadblocks for AI in banking?
See, this is quite fundamental to all the emerging technologies. Whenever a new emerging technology comes into foray and promise some real innovation, so every industry look forward to it so that they can address their inherent challenges or problems. Now, when you talk specifically about artificial intelligence and Gen AI, there are multiple number of use cases which has been piloted by different banks or different financial services. But to scale these technologies at a larger scale or at a larger footprint, that always become a challenge. So when I say to do a pilot, it will be in a very confined environment where you have all the requisite infrastructure in place. You will do with some 30, 40 sample clients, which is friendly clients or internal transactions. But when we look from a skill point of view, there are three key areas what I would like to highlight. So first being the technology part of it. So when we see from a technology point of view, all the AI initiatives, they need to integrate with the legacy tech infrastructure, which always poses a problem. Now, second is the data quality, which is quite fundamental to AI and Gen AI. So the data quality or the data sets, what we have or the legacy carries, that will always be a challenge. And now, in terms of structured, unstructured data, what is the quality of the structured data? Can you make something out of unstructured data? So these are the challenges which are on the data side. Now, the other challenge, what I see is from an organization perspective. So when you see to introduce an AI initiative across the organization, definitely you need to bring in a lot of units or functions or departments together. There's always a question who is going to bear the brunt in terms of funding, who is going to fund this initiative. If it is coming from top down, that's fine. Otherwise, you always have a pressure on return on investment. That's from the organization side. And from a culture perspective, right, you need to have a change mindset within the organization. The organization should able to adapt all these new initiatives and also from an innovation mindset point of view. So these are the three areas what I foresee in scaling up the AI solutions: organization, like technology, organization, and culture.
And how do you expect AI to disrupt the banking industry in the coming years?
Yeah, disruption is quite on the cards, and we have already seen, like as I mentioned, RPA or the process automation, process discovery. These are one of the areas, where we are seeing a lot of disruption. But if you talk about fundamental banking models, there are specific key areas where we are seeing disruption in next coming 5 to 10 years. So the first one being is the one-stop banking model, the traditional one-stop banking model is going to be eroded much faster. Then second is when you look at traditional lending and deposit functions for the bank, it will be distributed across the platform. So what does it transpire into, or what does it translate into? That means your traditional or conventional lending and deposit products will not be fruitful or will not be able to give you expected revenue in the coming future. The second is the payments, basically the payment space or the payments function from a banking perspective, which contributes to almost 40% of a bank's revenue. It will be more independent from the bank. That means there will be much more avenues. It will be more tailored to specific individuals, which again lead me to the hyper personalization from a Gen AI perspective. So these are specific areas which will disrupt the banking models in next 5 to 10 years.
Now, what sort of threat does AI pose to cybersecurity, especially in the area of frauds in banking?
Yeah, when it comes to AI challenges, there are specific areas what I would like to highlight, Shilpa. The first one being the digital amplification. Okay, so what do we mean by digital amplification is, let's say we deploy an AI engine, right? And it keeps on recommending some product or services based on some specific data, but that might not be applicable to a wider consumer base. Okay, so that's where we mean digital amplification. So let's say we are doing this shoot, right? And ETCIO keeps on promoting this video, right? Then it will becomes your digital amplification. Yeah. It might not be true in all the senses. So that's the first risk what we are looking at. And then basically we look at data prejudice. Data prejudice means whenever AI and Gen AI goes through the large amount of data sets, and when they found a similar data, then they would like to recommend the similar solution or similar business outcome that might not be correct in all the scenarios. So that's where we have challenges in terms of data prejudice. So how we can address or resolve this is when we have the business outcome, we need to keep looking at on what variables these outcomes have come and whether there is an anomaly in the outcome. The third is basically the privacy and cybersecurity part of it. So, as I mentioned earlier, also data is fundamental to AI and Gen AI solutions. Now, in terms of banking, we store a lot of consumer data, which is very sensitive and confidential. So, in terms of privacy, we need to see that whether the data is used in the way how it is intended to be used. Okay, as you know that there are a lot of API calls, which there are a lot of APIs and interfaces which have been exposed. Banks are also bound to expose and to share their customer information. So that becomes very risky, very sensitive, and you need to have a proper data security or cyber security solutions in place. Okay, giving the relevance of data in AI and Gen AI solutions, cybersecurity becomes a lot more prominent in terms. Cybersecurity threat becomes a lot more prominence for banking and financial services, financial institutions.
Well, yes, absolutely. And I think it's of paramount importance. Now, what skills and talent do BFSI organizations need to leverage in order to tap into AI effectively?
This is an interesting question, and I would like to answer it in a little different way. Okay, so I'll come to the skills later on, but when we see from an next gen or emerging technology skill sets, we talk about talent strategy. So we are not looking at best of the engineering talent. We're not looking for best of the business talent because the lines are keep blurring between technology, business, and digital. So we need to strive for a balance between best technology talent and best business talent, because at the end of the day, technology should know that what they are developing for relative business outcomes. And from a business perspective, business guys should be able to tell that this is the technology, what they have to develop, and this is the relative outcome. Now, coming to specific skill sets which is relevant in the new age, we need to first look at the digital skill set. Okay, like scanning of the digital footprint, digital marketing, all this digital transformation, that becomes your digital literacy. Then second, we need to be very focused on data literacy. That covers your data analysis, data synthesis, and all the data-related skill sets and data-related roles. And third becomes the technology, which is like the programming, computing, and all that, which covers your artificial intelligence, machine learning, and NLP programming.
And lastly, what are the sort of considerations that BFSI leaders must keep in mind while deploying AI?
So in terms of AI deployment, as I mentioned, the AI, artificial intelligence and Gen AI, it is across the transactional value chain of the banking. But there are key considerations in terms of data privacy, and then how you are going to scale the AI deployment or how you are going to scale the AI initiatives. These, I think, are a couple of key considerations, Shilpa.
All right. Thank you so much, Tanish, for joining us. It's been very insightful listening to you decode all the ways AI is disrupting the banking sector. And thank you once again for your time.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thanks for your time.
And thank you so much for joining us and catching this latest episode of AI Horizons. And for more such insightful conversations, remember to stay tuned.